China is fighting an economic war with the U.S., and we are going to lose if we don't fight back. That is according to Steve Bannon in a freewheeling phone call to Robert Kuttner at the American Prospect. That happened Tuesday afternoon. Bannon said, quote, "We are at economic war with China. It's in all their literature. They're not shy about saying what they're doing. One of us is going to be a hegemon in 25 or 30 years, but it's going to be them if we go down this path." Well, the Chinese responded by saying, quote, "There is no winner in a trade war." So, should we really be looking at this as an economic battle to the death? Or perhaps could free trade cure some of our mutual ills? Joining me now, he's back in business, Brenberg. He's an associate professor of economics at the King's College in New York City. Bryanomics is what we call it. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
Great to have you. Let's discuss, because we all know that free trade is great, but you say that Bannon actually has it right when it comes to intellectual property theft.
Yeah, well, the problem with China is it's not totally free trade. There's some aspects of free trade, but look, China is one of the biggest IP abusers in the world, and they've been at it for a long time, and that's an attack on property rights. Free trade is great, but if property rights aren't defended, free trade doesn't work. It can't exist in the first place.
Property rights are a natural right and a cornerstone of a free society.
Yeah, it's physical property rights, but it's intellectual property rights. So, and that's the U.S.'s big comparative advantage. That's what we make. We make great ideas, and that's what we export. And if China's undermining that, then we can't trade with China. And our companies in China are at risk, and they've been at risk for a very long time. The U.S. government hasn't defended them. One of the legitimate roles of government is to defend property rights. They haven't done that with the Chinese. I'm actually heartened that the Trump administration is talking about doing that. It can't be for the purpose of protectionism. That's not what we're doing here. It's to protect property rights.
But it almost seems like that's the road that Bannon is going down when he talks about the necessity of a trade war. Now, is there a way of standing up for American intellectual property, but at the same time expanding trade so everyone makes money?
Yeah, it's going after process, not outcomes. You hear the Trump administration, you hear Bannon talking all the time about trade deficits and we import too much from China. That's not the issue. When the U.S. is wealthiest, actually, is when we import the most from China. That's not the problem. The problem is process. It's things like IP. It's things like forcing companies to give up their technology in order to do business in China.
And that's what the Chinese government does.
Yes, they do that. They do it blatantly. They prop up their state-owned enterprises, which makes it almost impossible for U.S. companies to gain a legitimate foothold in their country. Those things should change. If China wants to be recognized as a free trade partner, and they do, they have to change these things, and it's legitimate for the U.S. to put pressure on them to do that.
All right, and we will see if that happens. Steve Bannon has been a lightning rod of criticism this week. He said that conversation that he had with Robert Kuttner was supposed to be off the record. Clearly, it wasn't.
How many times are they going to make that mistake? If you're talking to a reporter, you got to be careful.
Well.